In today's video, we're going to be going over the winners and the losers from week 3 of the preseason for the New England Patriots. Now, before I get into the video, be sure to smash that like button, leave a comment down below what you think, and subscribe for the best Patriots content on YouTube. All three of those things help me out so much as we're rapidly approaching 10,000 subscribers and beyond. Let's go ahead and get straight into the video. Our first winner, we're going to go from 10 to 1 and then 10 to 1 on losers as well. Ted Karras, and he actually had a good game. According to Pro Football Focus, he had one of the highest grades on the team, actually. Very, very good game for him. He was the second highest graded player on the offense with an 84 offensive rating. Really, really good game for him. Let's go ahead and move forward to Justin Herron, and this is the same thing, another lineman, an offensive lineman here. And he had a really good game as well, coming in as the 5th ranked offensive player with a rating of 78 here. So a very similar player at number 9. Number 8, Chase Winovich. The defensive line had a great game. If you guys watched my breakdown of the entire game, you could check that out. I'll put it on the top right corner right now. But we talked a lot about how that defensive line, especially the younger, newer players, played really, really great. And it was awesome to see. He came in with a really good Pro Football Focus ranking as well. He was about a 79.2, so that was not the highest on the defense. The defense had much higher ratings than the offense did, but it was still really, really good for him, and probably his best preseason game so far this preseason. Well, the preseason's over, so yes, it was his best preseason game of the preseason. Number 7, Christian Barmore, and he definitely had his best game of the preseason, coming in at an 82.9 grade there for the game there in the preseason. You guys, again, if you watch that breakdown, we talked about how he didn't really have any sacks, but he was right there. I mean, creating pressure every single play he was on the field. And this is why I love Pro Football Focus so much. And we're going to be using them in the future. I got a premium subscription just so that we could use this to get a little bit more insight into how these players did. But I love them because statistically, you wouldn't see that Christian Barmore had a great game. You would have to really, really watch the footage to see it. But Pro Football Focus goes ahead and breaks that down for you, not really paying attention to if they had the sack or not, but they take into account other things like the amount of pressure, how close they were to, getting a sack, how close they were to the quarterback, things of that nature. And that's why Christian Barmore was so high up on their defensive rating. Whereas, again, on the stats, you just wouldn't see him really pop up on the stat sheet at all. So really, really good there for him. Glad to see it. Ramondre Stevenson, number 6, he had another good game. Obviously having more touchdowns, no surprise there. He was the number 3 ranked offensive player with an 81.2 ranking. He had another really good game, and obviously he made the roster as well. So there's many things to look that were really good for him this week. Really excited for him. One of our young running backs, very, very promising. Number 5, a guy that really, really had a surprisingly good game, Devin Aussie, and he actually had the highest offensive ranking of the entire offense, 85.9 ranking according to Pro Football Focus. And another reason why he won, not only that, but also he made the roster, and he's going to be our 3rd tight end. We're only running with 3 tight ends this year. It's going to be Hunter Henry, of course. We're going to have Judon Smith as well, and then last but not least, Devin Aussie coming in at that 3rd spot. Dalton Keene didn't make the roster, so Devin Aussie got the nod there out of those 2 rookies we got a couple seasons ago. Obviously, there wasn't a lot of room for the tight ends. Big winner there for Devin Aussie. Number 4, my guy. You guys have heard me talk about this guy so many times, make so many videos about him, and even well deep into the offseason, I was talking about him. J.J. Taylor, I told you guys he was going to make the roster. I told you guys he was going to pop off and impress a lot of you. Now you guys have seen it firsthand because you've watched the preseason games, as have I. And I'm glad to see the amount of hype he's getting. I see a lot of people in the Patriots fan community loving on J.J. Taylor, and he deserves it. I mean, he is a talented player, the next Dion Lewis, in my opinion, type player. And it's amazing to see him make the roster. He had another really, really good game. And he's coming in at number 4 because he made the roster. He had a 74.7 offensive rating, by the way, but he's had better games than that even during the preseason. He had an 81 last week versus the Eagles, and then a 70 in the first game. So he's been consistently in those good grades. Anywhere from a 70 to a 90 is really, really good. So to see him in that, well within that range is a good thing consistently. I think he's going to be a special player. Number 3, Josh Uche, and talk about a guy who really, really popped off. Again, we were talking about the young defensive line. He was the number one, not only defensive player according to Pro Football Focus, but also the number one player from the Patriots this week, coming in with a rating of 91 overall, which is in that great territory. I mean, that is elite ranking. Obviously, it's one preseason game, but it's really great to see him playing good regardless. Week one of the preseason, he had a 77.6. And then week two, it was a little bit of a down week for him, 64.2. So it's great to see him bounce from a 64 to a 91. And last season, during the regular season, for any doubters, he had a 77.6, which again, anything above 70 is in that good range. During his rookie season, he had a 75 pass rushing grade, but he also had a 75 coverage grade. So it's really nice to see a very versatile player in him that can do both at a pretty good level. And that's only his rookie year, so we will see if he can get better and better in the years to come. I really hope he can. Let's talk about the next player on the list, Quinn Nordin, and I don't even really need to say anything. He's our starting kicker. He got the nod over Nick Folk. Really cool to see. He had two good games and one really bad game. So I'm kind of nervous moving forward, but I'm excited for him at the same time, and I really hope he can bounce back. He's shown that he can kick, but can he be clutch and really just excel in those tough situations? Only time will tell. Nick Folk wasn't the greatest kicker either, so it's not like we were going to be very secure at the kicker position regardless. So it's nice to see a young developmental player get the nod, and he already has really good skill set. Obviously, number one is going to be Mac Jones this week, I mean, he's the starter quarterback. He has announced the starting quarterback. Nobody really saw that coming, and he got the nod. He's going to be the starting quarterback, so obviously he is the biggest winner, not only because of that, but he also had a great preseason, and he closed it out with a really good game, getting his first touchdown. There's so much to be excited about with Mac Jones. I don't even think I need to say any more, but let's start talking about those losers. And it was really hard to come up with losers all three of these weeks because we won each game and there was a lot of things to be happy about and not a lot to be mad about. But I had to come up with 10. I'm going to start doing 10 on each regardless. And there is going to be weeks where it's a lot easier than this during the regular season. You know, some losses. We're not going to go 17-0. Sorry to say it. So there is going to be some losses in there. There is going to be some bad games. So it's going to be much easier to find these losers in those games. Might be tough to find the winners some games too. Let's talk about some roster. People just didn't make the roster here. Carl Davis, number 10. There's not much to say. Didn't make the roster. Again, Sean Bauer here didn't make the roster. Isaiah Zuber here at number 8, and a lot of people were pretty high on this guy, but didn't make the roster. We have a lot of talent at the wide receiver position compared to recent years, so and not necessarily compared to the rest of the league, but we're pretty middle of the tier now, which is a good thing. But we definitely are a lot better than we have been. So Isaiah Zuber not making the roster was a bit of a surprise. Another little bit of a surprising one, Matt Lacoste, and this has been a long time coming. He hasn't been a super productive player. He's been kind of just a roster filler, if you will, like just kind of filling in because we didn't have any tight ends, but now we do. So I think it was his time to go. Good choice there. Montravius Adams, a little bit surprising there, a free agent we brought in from the Packers. A little bit of a promising defensive lineman developmental player, but I think we just have so much depth, especially with Christian Barmore being in there. We have some more veterans along the line as well. There just wasn't room. I think that's why that choice was made. Again, another surprising person that didn't make the roster here, Michael Jackson, and a lot of people like this guy. Here's my opinion on him, guys. I was trying to pay attention to him throughout the preseason. Regular season, he played pretty well last season, looked pretty promising, but this season, the thing is, there would be some plays where it was just amazing, and he was able to break up a pass. He was right there with the receiver, and it was really, really good. But at the same time, there was an equal amount of plays where he was just getting totally toasted. I mean, his ankles were broken. He was going the wrong way, all sorts of embarrassing plays. And I saw that during the training camp as well with some of our receivers. So it's just too hit or miss. He's not very consistent, and I think that's why he didn't make the roster. Christian Wilkerson, and this is one of the more surprising guys to not make the roster. Very, very surprising, actually, to me. Sad to see him go. He had a really, really good preseason, actually, for the caliber of player he is, and I thought he would make the roster as kind of a back-end player, but I just don't think there was any room. I think that's pretty evident at this point. Gunnar Olszewski, he made the roster, obviously, but we're starting to talk about the players that just played bad. Gunnar Olszewski, I don't remember too many plays. I'm going mostly off of the Pro Football Focus grading here on this one, I will be honest, but I did see the one dropped pass from Mac Jones that was very disappointing, actually, from him. If you remember that play, I'm not going to pull it up because I will get copyrighted. That's why I don't show footage in these ones, because I want to make some money. But I will get copyrighted if I show any NFL footage, and it's just not worth it, obviously. I make the highlight videos. Those ones get copyrighted. Those are kind of like my donation to the world, because I don't make any money to do that. I just enjoy doing it. But yeah, we see that Gunnar Olszewski was the bottom ranked player on the offense out of 42. He obviously had those drops. A very disappointing game for him. So 28th on the offense, not a good look for sure. He did make the roster though, and at 42, he is the the fourth worst player in the game. Michael Jackson actually was the worst ranked player on the entire game. By the way, a guy we just talked about. Let's talk about Nick Folk. The last two here are just going to be guys that were very surprising cuts. This one is kind of like a 50-50. Like, we thought Quinn Nordin definitely could make the roster, and that Nick Folk would get cut, but I thought Nick Folk would get the nod. I thought they'd put Quinn Nordin there on the practice squad, but they decided to give him the nod and go ahead and walk away from Nick Folk. Pretty surprising move there for those reasons. Obviously, he's the number 2 loser this week. And then number 1 loser, I don't think anybody's surprised by this, although a couple of days ago, I think everybody would have been surprised by this, but Cam Newton, number 1, gets cut from the Patriots, giving the starting role to Mac Jones. Very surprising move. Mac Jones being the starter isn't a total surprise. It's not like the most groundbreaking thing to happen in the entire history of the NFL. But Cam Newton getting cut is the very surprising part. And a lot of theories have come out about that, by the way, because I did talk about that a couple days ago. But we have more information now. It had nothing to do with any sort of illnesses or anything related to illnesses. I'm just going to say that because I don't want to be, I don't want to get into anything. It has nothing to do with health or anything like that, or choices. That's been announced. Apparently, from what we've heard, there's been players that have come out anonymously and talked to reporters. There's been a lot of things said, but it 100% had to do with Mac Jones outplaying Cam Newton and Mac Jones being the better choice at quarterback moving forward. And a lot of people are having trouble admitting that, a lot of the Cam Newton fans. I think what happened is when he left the Panthers and came to the Patriots, a lot of fans that just loved Cam Newton followed Cam Newton away from the Panthers to the Patriots. It's kind of like a very much so smaller version of when Tom Brady went to the Buccaneers and a lot of Patriots fans left and became Buccaneers fans, or more like Tom Brady fans in general. We got probably thousands of fans, maybe even tens of thousands, that just loved Cam Newton so much that they decided to be more of a fan of him than their actual team, the Panthers. And I think those are the people that are mostly mad about this, and they will likely go away to wherever Cam goes, if he goes anywhere. And if they don't, they might go back to the Panthers. I don't know what those types of fans are going to do, but I think those are the people that are mostly just blindly defending Cam at this point, trying to say like, oh, it was because of this, it was because of that. Not because Mac is better, because that's impossible. It's because of other stuff. That's all I'm hearing from a lot of people. And then there's the people that are thinking logically, and they're saying, look, Mac Jones was highly accurate. He controlled the line of scrimmage, and probably he's only going to get better. So that's the more logical way to approach this. It has nothing to do with anything else at this point. We've heard that from the players. We've heard that from the coaches. And that's evident at this point. Even I said I think Cam should be the starter, and I think Cam will be the starter this season. I'll be the first to admit that I said that. But here's the thing. I knew Mac Jones was better right now as a passer. I knew that. And a lot of what I've heard is that, Cam Newton wouldn't be a good backup for Mac Jones. And the reason is because if Mac Jones, for some reason, got injured or something like that, Cam Newton, they're going to have to totally redraw up the offense because it's a totally different, play style. It's night and day. Not saying one is worse than the other, although I do think a more, pro-style quarterback is a better way to go for this offense. But it's just going to lead to a lot of problems, and they would much rather get even a backup that's a little worse than Cam overall, but a little better in our play style that we're going to play with Mac Jones. And I think that's overall the smartest way to go. Anyway, with all of that being said, this is my winners and losers from week 3. Let me know what you agree with or disagree with in the comments down below. Again, like the video and subscribe for the best Patriots content on YouTube. I will see you guys in the next video.